Welcome back, everybody, to the Jacks of All Trades podcast. I'm Kyle, and we're on our next episode of the offseason preview. We're going over the AFC North today, Steelers, the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Browns. But before we jump in, guys, let's hear from our contributors and our sponsors.
Fresh Cuts is our amazing sponsor who's been with us since 2020. Fresh Cuts is the local barbershop hangout in Marion, Indiana. If you're looking for a full-service barber with excellent cuts and a welcoming atmosphere, contact Caleb Kemper for an appointment time through www.freshcutsbarbershop.com. Mondays are the best days to get in, although he has plenty of time slots available. And if you happen to miss us live, you'll be hearing us in the shop while you enjoy your fresh cut. Slide on by to Fresh Cuts to pick up some stylish footwear with Caleb's Fresh Kicks collection. From Nike to Jordans, he offers the best price for quality kicks. And if you don't find what you like, Caleb offers custom work for $250. Stop over to 1224 North Baldwin Ave in Marion to pick up yours today, or Caleb also ships all over the U.S. Message him for prices and sizes. Our other people we sponsor, Steve Wood Illustrations and Ronald Morell for Mayor. Check out their respective pages on Facebook. And our other friends at other podcasts, the Culture Corner podcast, 1,000 Wives of Weird, and Rules of the Frame. Check them out on their respective platforms listed below.
All right, thanks for that. We're going to continue here. We're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals first in our offseason preview of the AFC North. The Bengals had a very good year, 12-4, first overall, lost to the Chiefs in the playoffs. Joe Burrow, incredible. Joe Mixon, good running back. Incredible receivers with Boyd and Higgins and Jamar Chase. Hayden Hurst had a nice year. Remember, they went all in on the offensive line last year, with guys like Alex Kappa, Leo Collins, and they drafted Jackson Carman a couple years ago. Ted Karras, too. They got a lot of guys to try to rectify that offensive line room. And overall, I don't think they did a great job. I still think offensive line is a need. But then their defense, we talk about their defense, it was very good. They have a lot of guys on their team that just kind of outproduce where we thought they would be, When they signed Trey Hendrickson a couple years ago, I don't think anyone thought he was going to be this good. He is. Guys like DJ Reader, incredible when he's in the lineup. Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, Akeem Davis-Gaither, all those three linebackers are very, very good. Speaking of which, they just re-signed Jermaine Pratt to a 3-year, $21 million deal. However, their safety room with Jesse Bates and Von Bell, incredible safety room, might I add, but both those guys, they left in free agency. It's a big bummer. Jesse Bates and Von Bell. Von Bell went to the Panthers, and then Jesse Bates went ahead and signed a 4-year, I think $64 million deal with the Falcons. So that's a big loss for them, obviously. The Bengals, though, right now have about $36 million in cap space is what I'm seeing here. So they still have some work to do in free agency, no doubt. And they can still get some things. This is only day 2. They're good. They're fine. Still have a lot of money to do some good things. So what can they do? This offseason, they have a number of picks. They have round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6, and round 7. So a pretty stable, pretty common number of draft picks there. So they lost Von Bell. Jesse Bates is gone. Eli Apple is also a free agent. I don't know if they're going to re-sign him. That is potentially they want him back. I mean, they kind of want some chemistry in the secondary, right? They don't want to lose everyone. So they could bring him back. But we're leaving kind of the safety room alone right now. They re-signed Michael Thomas, and they have Dax Hill. Dax Hill was one of my favorite players in the draft last year. And he didn't really play a ton for the Bengals, but he has incredible versatility. And I think they're comfortable with losing one of those guys and maybe putting Dax Hill in the starting lineup and letting him work because I think he had massive potential in last year's draft, and I thought he was going to start right away for them or play a lot, and he really didn't. But they like Cam Taylor-Britt a lot too, the corner out of Nebraska, very long, instinctive corner. Played pretty well for them down the stretch. 6 foot 202. It's a good size for a corner. So they really like what they see in Cam Taylor-Britt. Now, potential targets for the Bengals for them to maybe rectify some of these losses here. I'm putting Juan Thornhill out there. I'm putting LaMarcus Joyner's name out there as well. 2 safeties that could help them right away, who have a lot of experience. That way Dax Hill's not really alone back there. LaMarcus Joyner definitely has more years of experience, but Juan Thornhill's played a lot for the Chiefs, played in a lot of big games. I think he could be an option. I don't think Sean Murphy-Bunting has signed anywhere yet. That could be an option for them at corner. Maybe they could slide him to safety. Brad put Jamal Williams in here, and I really love that because Joe Mixon, while he's a very talented running back, has been in a lot of trouble recently, and he might be a guy that they want to ship out, get rid of. And Jamal Williams is a very tough physical runner that I think maybe doesn't serve you as well in the passing game, but he can do a lot of things on the ground and be very productive. And I also have Poona Ford as well, the D tackle. The Seahawks signed a couple D tackles already in free agency. It seems like Poona Ford's leaving, so the Bengals could go after him as well. Potential targets for the Cincinnati Bengals in the draft, I have Christian Gonzalez. They might have to trade up for him. Jordan Battle at safety. Again, safety's a big need. Jordan Battle, Christopher Smith, guys like that. Jair Brown, guys who've played a lot of football, a lot of games, like guys like that would be very beneficial for the Bengals to pick up. Someone that can maybe step in right away and play. And then Felix and Duke Uzama, the Bengals absolutely love pass rushers. They love what they have in Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson and Joseph Osai when he's healthy, but pass rush is the way to go, especially when you have to play the Chiefs every freaking year. Like they want pass rush, so that's a guy they could look out for as well. So a little mock draft that I did for you. I have Anton Harrison, the first pick. Offensive line is, I think, the biggest need for them after safety. Eli Ricks at corner. A corner that can step in. Maybe if Eli Apple's gone, you get Eli Ricks instead and play him. He's also a very long-armed corner. Didn't produce to the level I think they wanted him to, but I think he has the traits to be a very good corner in this league. And then Tank Bigsby with their third-round pick. Again, possibly losing Joe Mixon. Maybe he'll recoup some draft capital there, but you want a tough runner, especially in the playoffs. Like the Bengals are – this is a big thing. The Bengals are going to continue to be in the playoffs for sure with Joe Burrow if he's healthy. Like they're definitely going to get there somehow, some way. And I trust Joe to probably win a game every year to get them down the road. But what you need in the playoffs is something that the Bengals don't have, is a run game, a tough run game, a physical run game. The Chiefs had that with Isaiah Pacheco. The Eagles had that with Hurts and Sanders, and kind of Gainwell even. But that's your quarterbacks can take you to the playoffs, no doubt. But you also need that second option, that tough physical running game. And I think Bigsby, I think Jamal Williams or another physical running back can help them if Joe Mixon is gone. And what I like to do is ask a question for each team here. And what do the Bengals need to do in order to beat the Chiefs? They are very, very close this year. I do think, though, if they had more of a running game and an O-line that they could trust, I think their defense played well enough to win. I do. Now, they need that safety help, that corner help, like I said. But I think if they had a solid running game, they could chew the clock a little bit. They wouldn't have to make Joe Burrow make these crazy throws. Like, he can do it. I get it. And his receivers can do it. I get it. But having a tough physical running game, I think, is the key to beating the Chiefs while also having that great quarterback. Just keeping Mahomes off the field. And the receivers, for that matter, they can't keep all those guys. They're going to have to transition at some point. They can't keep these three receivers. One of them is going to leave at some point soon because they just don't have the capital, the assets to do that. It's not realistic. So kind of supplementing that with a different style of offense is get a running game, get a ground game where you can ground and pound, you can play action, you can do some different things with Joe Burrow in the running game instead of making him just drop back 50 times a game and throwing it. And yeah, sometimes he can do it, but longevity-wise, long-term, I think to beat the Chiefs, you need that running game. And that's kind of my 2 cents there. So let's move on here to the Ravens. Ravens are big talking point, a massive talking point this offseason, and we'll get on with that in a little bit here. 10-7 in second place. They made the playoffs, $26.8 million in cap space. They have a new OC, Todd Monken. They got rid of Greg Roman. That's a big deal as well. The Ravens overall this year, it could have been worse for sure. It could have been a lot better. Lamar didn't play a whole lot. 62 completion percentage, 17 touchdowns passing to 7 interceptions, 91 rating. Not bad from Lamar for sure, but Tyler Huntley played a lot. I think someone else played a lot. Just a lot of injuries from running back position, receiver position, Lamar Jackson, obviously, and that's just a big talking point. It is Lamar Jackson, is that offense as a whole, and what they went through this year. And let's just start with that. I guess right now is Lamar Jackson got that tag, is kind of a free agent, kind of not. He's able to seek out his own deal, but it's messy, man. I mean, Lamar Jackson does not have an agent, and that's been a problem. I understand that the Ravens kind of want him to go out there to seek his own deal to see what he's worth. And Lamar Jackson feels he's worth a lot more than what the Ravens are offering him. I think he's right, but I also think he's kind of wrong as well. And I'm kind of going to be in the middle here with this whole Lamar Jackson debate. You have some people that are saying he's not worth it at all. He can't pass. He's not a great passer. He gets injured a lot. Why do you want to spend all that money to a guy like that? And this other side, like the Robert Griffins of the world or ex-players, Richard Shermans of the world are saying, no, Lamar Jackson is worth that. If you want a quarterback, spend those 2 first, spend that money and go get him. He's a stud. He can play right away. He'll improve your offense. And I do kind of get both arguments here because he is injured. He is a running quarterback. That's hard to, spend 2 first and spend $250 million. That's a lot right off the bat. I mean, you're trading 2 firsts, right, to go up and get a quarterback in the draft. That's a lot, right? Or maybe even another second. But you're not paying him $250 million, and you have him for 5 years. It's number one. Jets, for example, if they go out and trade for Aaron Rodgers, it probably won't be 2 first-round picks. It might be a heavy amount of cap, but we know that Aaron Rodgers can stay on the field, and it's Aaron Rodgers. The other side of that, with the Robert Griffins and the Richard Shermans of the world, is that I get it. He is a stud. Statistically, he's done very well. He's an incredible runner. He's a good thrower. He's taken the Ravens to the playoffs. He's done a lot of really good things. And at one point, he was considered one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And he still might be. And you can't just grow quarterbacks on trees. You can't for certain know if you're a team like the Panthers, if you're a team like the like the Jets, for example, or a team like the Colts, or a team like the Texans, or the Raiders. You can't really know for sure if you want one of these young quarterbacks that he's going to be all Pro Bowl or elite player. What Lamar Jackson is, for better or for worse, what he is. I think he's a really good player. But I'm going to find the middle ground here, as I like to try to do. I understand both arguments, but I'm kind of leaning with the Robert Griffins and Richard Shermans of the world a little bit more, because ultimately we saw what Lamar Jackson was with this Ravens offense the last few years. In no way, shape, or form did they give Lamar Jackson a stud receiver. They've never done that, have they? Maybe you can say one to me if you want, or they had this guy, but I don't think they've had an A.J. Brown. I don't think they've had a Jamar Chase. I don't think they've had a Tyreek Hill at all, have they? No. You get these quarterbacks a guy, And you could say, oh, they have Mark Andrews, but he's tight end. He's not. I mean, he's a good tight end, great tight end even, but he's not to the level of Travis Kelce. Not even close. He's not. Just get out there, get out of here with that. It's not even close. Also, his running backs are injured every year. The receivers they do get for him are injured or just suck or old. And their offense was predicated on Lamar Jackson running the ball. So, of course, he's going to be a little bit more injury prone if you want your quarterback to run the ball all the freaking time. Like, that's how it happens. You can get rid of some of that stress, that worry of, oh no, Lamar Jackson's going to run the ball, he's going to get hurt. By how? By having like a good passing game, some good concepts, some play action, some receivers that can get open right away where Lamar Jackson does not have to run around and make a play. Even Patrick Mahomes, even him, he runs around a little bit, tries to make plays. And yes, even though he won the MVP in a Super Bowl, like he still got hurt, That option's always there with guys that run around, but you can take off some of that stress, get a receiver, get a better offensive line, get a running game that doesn't include Lamar Jackson, what that can do for you. I mean, it wasn't just Jalen Hurts running the ball all the time. Some games he didn't run it at all. And he just threw the ball downfield very accurately. And I don't know if Lamar is as accurate of a passer downfield as Jalen Hurts. I don't know that. But how you find out is you get a guy that can win downfield, and they have not done that for Lamar Jackson. So what the Ravens should do, I think, is, for Lamar Jackson's sake, I hope he goes somewhere else and maybe gets a better coordinator and a team that will surround him with a little bit better weapons. But if Lamar Jackson stays on the Ravens and the Ravens continue to not invest receivers for him or a coach that can actually get some different play designs and get some passing concepts in there, it's going to continue to be Lamar Jackson first-round exit, injured all the time. You cannot rely on his legs all the time. It does not work out for him. So the Ravens, if you're listening, you probably aren't. But if you get Lamar Jackson back, give him some help. He's been dying for help, and it's ridiculous that you just want to put him out there and make him look foolish. It's sick, actually. I think they've done Lamar Jackson dirty. And yes, I get some of the arguments that he's hurt and you're just not sure of paying him that much money. But those are other teams talking. Ravens, you should know what you have in Lamar Jackson. And if you don't know what you have in Lamar Jackson, let him throw the ball. Let him give him a receiver to do that and see how your team can be elevated a little bit with a really good passing game. So let's talk about their key free agents other than Lamar. Marcus Peters, the free agent, Justin Houston, and they released Calais Campbell. I think Calais Campbell will sign with the team relatively quickly if he doesn't retire. Potential targets, they have Robert Quinn, just another edge rusher for him. Adam Thielen, I think, could be a good option, a cheaper option. Now, I think he is visiting the Panthers, but in terms of just having a solid receiver who can get open, I think Thielen could do that for you, and he's a real receiver. Greedy Williams at corner, and then Isaac Samalo at guard. They lost Ben Powers in free agency. I think Samalo would be a nice pickup for them at guard. So they have a first-round pick, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. Not that much to work with there. No second-round picks. Potential draft targets for them, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Someone like Miles Murphy. Clark Phillips at corner. Deuce Vaughn at running back. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback because they like drafting those guys. Trying to mimic what Lamar can do, but not at his level. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think Quentin Johnson. I think potentially Jordan Addison. Any of those guys at 22, I think, are worthy of being picked. And just, I think guys that can develop into real receivers, you need one. And I think they'd be stupid if they didn't get one of those. I know corner is deep, and you probably want to supplement at corner. Marlon Humphrey's getting older. Marcus Peters is a free agent, so corner could be an option for sure. But they really need to invest in receiver. Or if they're bringing Lamar Jackson back, get him Bijan Robinson. Give him just a little bit more help and see what he can do. See how he can elevate your offense a little bit more. And my question for the Ravens, as I give everyone out, is what should the Ravens do with Lamar? And I kind of spoke to that. I hope he goes to another team. I hope he does. But the Ravens should give him what he wants and then sign a receiver and see how your offense grows. Just see. I think that's very little to ask of the Ravens. Let's move on to the Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, record 9-8 this year, third place in the division. Cap space, they have about $7 to $8 million in cap space. Not super active in free agency right now, but they did sign Patrick Peterson. They signed Nate Herbig, and they re-signed their D tackle, Larry Ogunjobi. So a little bit of action right there. I think Nate Herbig's a nice addition there. Patrick Peterson, I'm not so sure about that one, but we'll see. But as picks go, they have that second rounder from the Claypool trade. Very good trade, in my opinion. Very, very good trade. 2 second rounders, 1 first, 1 third, 1 fourth, and 2 sevenths. So they have some opportunities to trade back to pick up a couple more picks. Key free agents, Cameron Sutton, he's gone. Chris Wormley and Terrell Edmonds. I kind of forgot Terrell Edmonds, the free agent. He's still out there. And they could bring Terrell Edmonds back, I'm sure. Micah Fitzpatrick, we know how dominant he is. I believe DeMonte Kazee went somewhere else as well. So they have a need at safety. Still have a need at corner. I'm sure they would argue they have a need at inside linebacker as well and offensive line. But I do like their weapons. As far as their weapons go, I like Pat Freiermuth. I like Pickens. I like Deontay Johnson. I like Najee Harris. I like Jalen Warren. Not sold on Kenny Pickett quite yet, but I think they've given more help to their quarterback already than they've given to Lamar. But we'll try to stray off that subject. So potential targets for them. Garrett Bradbury I have here, but he did just resign, so that's void. Riley Reif at tackle. He's an aged tackle, no doubt, but he can step in right away and play for you. Leonard Floyd at outside linebacker. We know they love pass rushers. That is an option. Orlando Brown is still out there, and I don't know if they have the money for him nor if they want him, but I know they have a need at offensive line. They have a need at tackle. So that could be an option out there as well. Cale McGarry just got re-signed from the Falcons, so that's not an option either. So they have a little bit more money to play with. We'll see what they do. Potential draft targets for the Steelers. Aiden O'Connell at quarterback, just a backup option. Byron Young, edge. Byron Young had an incredible combine. Definitely could play outside linebacker, provide some more juice there. Paris Johnson Jr. at tackle or guard. I think he could slide all the way to 17. That'd be a really good pick. But I have a little bit of a mock for you guys, for Steelers fans out there. I have Peter Skoronski at tackle with their first pick. I don't know if he's going to reach there, but I think tackle could be a pick early. Skoronski or Broderick Jones or Anton Harrison, someone like that, or DeJuan Jones even. Diane Henley for second-round pick. A lot of people have likened him to a Fred Warner, as I've said in other podcasts. I don't know exactly how he'll do in a 3-4, but in terms of being rangy and athletic like he has it, if Steelers fans, if their complaints about Devin Bush is he can't get off blocks, then they might not like Diane Henley. But in terms of athleticism and coverage ability, Henley's there all the way. Garrett Williams at corner. Long, physical, tough corner from Syracuse, tested well too. Again, need at corner. And then Jacqueline Roy, D tackle from LSU. Maybe a guy that can replace Cameron Hayward when Cam is done. They should definitely be looking into that. He's not going to last forever. But obviously, I love T.J. Watt and Minka, and I like Miles Jack even. Love their weapons. But offensive line and corner are an issue, and we hope they can get that worked out. They have 3 really good picks. And linebacker, a guy like Trenton Simpson maybe, or Jack Campbell is there for the taking. I think Jack Campbell would be nasty with the Steelers. That could be an option. And we know how deep this corner class is, and we know how deep this tackle class is. So if you're having Nate Herbig start and James Daniels start, that's not bad. It could be better, but it's not bad. And then get a solid tackle, and your offensive line is maybe better than it was last year, and that's always a positive. So my question for the Steelers this offseason is, what do the Steelers need to do in order to get Kenny Pickett progressing in the right way. And I'm not entirely sold on Kenny Pickett, but you have to find his strengths, what he can do the best. I don't think he had a great run game last year either, and that could be a little bit Najee Harris, a little overrated, but it's also the O-line. And yes, I know I like the weapons, but your offensive line still needs to create some room for your running back, set some protection for your quarterback. You can't do it entirely all by himself. That's why teams with these very good O-lines, like look at the Chiefs last year, they got Isaiah Pacheco, who's a 7th-round pick, and made him look, incredible. Now, he's done a lot of the work himself, no doubt, but the offensive line really paved the way for him and let him do work. And I think the Steelers need to invest in the O-line sooner rather than later, to see truly how good or bad Najee is, to see truly how good or bad Kenny Pickett is. But if I were the Steelers, I would go offensive line first, just to make sure you have that shirt up for your young QB, your young receiver, your young tight end, your young running back, just to make sure you have everything the right way and you can see how he can progress with the right pieces in front of you. Okay, and then next we have the Cleveland Browns, our final team here in this AFC North preview. 7-10 last year, 4th place. Cap space about $20 million right now, and they have a new DC, Jim Schwartz, the wide 9, former Eagle legend. As far as picks go, they have 1 in round 2, 1 in round 3, 2 in round 4, 1 in round 5, 1 in round 6, and 1 in round 7. Key free agents this year, they have Jadeveon Clowney as a free agent, Kareem Hunt, Chase Winovich, I think he signed somewhere, and Ronnie Harrison as well. Clowney, I like Clowney, but I don't think they're going to miss him that much. Cleveland Browns in a whole were just a mess this year with the Deshaun Watson thing, with Kareem Hunt's always something. Injuries, no doubt. I feel like they had so many safeties, blowing coverages left and right. A little bit of a mess there. I think the receiver room is a little bit of a mess as well. But I think they can clean up that really quick. But their O-line is great. I think if they can get a solid defensive end, their D-line will be really good. I like their linebackers. I like their corners. Hate their safeties. But ultimately, the question is Deshaun Watson. He looked bad. He looked like he hasn't played in 2 years, which he hasn't. That's a big question. That's a big problem for the Browns. Honestly, it's how will Deshaun Watson look next year? How will he do with a new receiver, without Kareem Hunt, with the same system? Because this year he didn't look good. Like a 79 rating, QBR was 38, 7 touchdowns versus 5 picks. I know he hasn't spent a lot of time here, but it didn't look good. I mean, Jacoby Brissett looked better than he did, and that's a big question. And I'm not a big fan of Deshaun Watson. Obviously, I've probably said that on this podcast before. Brad probably has as well. But that'll be the ultimate question: is Deshaun Watson. Potential targets for the Browns are Bobby Wagner at linebacker. I like their linebackers, like I said, but getting a pros pro in there, maybe he can step in right away and kind of anchor down that defense right in the middle. Jordan Poyer at safety. Like I said, safety is a big need. Blown coverages by Grant Delpit and Josh Johnson, all those guys. Jordan Poyer is a pros pro. I don't think he'll make those mistakes, and I don't think it's going to cost too much. So getting someone like him in there. Darius Slayton at receiver, just another option for them. Someone who can run down the field, get open, make tough catches. Fletcher Cox at D tackle. I heard the Browns were interested in him, but the Browns did sign Ogbonnia Okoronkwo, defensive end, and Dalvin Tomlinson, D tackle. Tomlinson was kind of a big deal. 4 years, $50 million. Definitely a run stuffer. And Ogbonnia, gosh, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Okoronkwo had 5 sacks last year for the Texans. His career, he's had 9.5. He's only 27, 6'2", 250. I think they're kind of banking on him outperforming his his contract. So they signed some guys along the defensive line, which they needed to do. They re-signed Ethan Pokic at center, and he can play multiple positions, stepped in nicely last year. But they definitely still have a need at receiver and a need at safety and probably defensive end too. But, I think they have a lot of talent on this team. Like, we're going over all these teams this offseason, and if Deshaun Watson can be Deshaun Watson of old, like, oh my gosh, like I love this Browns team if they can get like a safety, like I do. That's a great team if they can get a couple safeties and a defensive end. Man, like I'm picking them to win that division. Like if Deshaun Watson can be that Deshaun Watson, but who knows? Like I don't think Browns fans know. But we'll see. Potential draft targets: Sidney Brown at safety, the guy from Illinois, also brothers with Chase Brown. Very tough safety, downhill tackler, but he's also had a lot of ball production as well. Did really well at the combine, ran like a sub 4.4, I think. Parker Washington at receiver from Penn State, a slot receiver. They definitely need a slot receiver there in Cleveland. Amari Cooper, David Bell, I think are nice outside receivers. Obviously, Amari Cooper's the best, but maybe Parker would be a little bit more inclined at slot over Donovan Peoples-Jones at receiver, and then Robert Cooper, D tackle. I also have a little mock draft. I have Carl Brooks with their second-round pick, and then Tyler Scott with their pick at 98, and he's a very fast, like track kind of receiver. And Carl Brooks is a little bit of a tweener, 6'4", 300, something like that, who played defensive end in college, but have the ability probably to play inside on the pros. But a question for the Browns is how should the Browns build now that they have so much money on Deshaun Watson? If you didn't see, they restructured Watson's contract so they could get like $30 million this offseason. But ultimately, it's kind of just what I have been talking over is, can Deshaun Watson be Deshaun Watson of old? If he can be, Browns have a really good chance of getting in the playoffs, maybe winning that division. If he can't, they're screwed. They're screwed. Tremendously screwed. Utterly screwed. Because they're paying him so much money. If he's not living up to that contract, if he can't even be Dak Prescott, and I like Dak Prescott. If he can't even be Dak Prescott, dude, they're in for a tough few years trying to get rid of him. So obviously for Browns fans, you're hoping that Deshaun Watson steps it up and plays like him. For those who don't like Deshaun Watson, you're kind of hoping he continues like this. So it's a tough balance between Browns fans that love their team but hate Deshaun Watson, and Browns fans that love their team and love Deshaun Watson, and then people who just can't stand Deshaun Watson but love the Browns. So or are fine with the Browns, who don't really care about the Browns but wants to see good things happen to franchises. So I'm not a Browns fan, but I'd like to see them be good. My brother-in-law is a Browns fan. My friend from work is a Browns fan. But again, if Deshaun Watson cannot be Deshaun Watson, they're screwed. That's pretty much the gist of it. So I think we'll end that episode here. It's kind of a quick one, but that's all right. We have one more division to go, and that is the AFC East. So hopefully we can get that done soon as well. And then we'll be done with the offseason plan. You can kind of rest and listen over all the free agency frenzy news, get ready for the draft. And if you didn't know, we're having a live mock draft, a couple actually in April. So please check out our page on Facebook, on Twitter, and sign up to get one of those teams. There's 20-something teams in there. So sign up, be a part of it. It's super fun. We'd love to have you there. So thanks for sticking around, guys. We appreciate it. We love you, and we'll see you on the next one.